There's this guy named Jason Rapert. Yes, Jason Rapert. Quite the name. He's not on screen. This is a guy named Gene Bailey. He's a televangelist. Jason Rapert is this guy right here on the right, okay? He's an ex-congressman from Arkansas, I believe, and he's been in litigation, like lawsuits with American atheists. Not even that long ago, there was this lawsuit where he was selectively, from his public congressman account, he was blocking anybody that he thought might be an atheist. And I think that's what the litigation was over. And it was solely because he was an atheist. And I believe they won that litigation. American Atheists did. I don't remember how it turned out. Well, anyways, Rapert actually lost his election not too long ago. And now he's not Congressman Jason Rapert. He is Pastor Jason Rapert. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the guy, let me give you a little insight into who this fine-looking gentleman is. Let me just introduce you to the guy so you have an idea of the types of things that he believes. Listen to this. This is from early February 2023. Oh, please don't tell me I have to... I think I have to restart my system. Quite a name, right? This guy. Like, I know that back in the day, a lot of names were, or a lot of surnames were based on the job that you picked up. You know, Tyler or Mason or, I don't know. There are a billion different names that correspond with different jobs out there, right? I wonder if that's one of those things with Jason Rapert. I wonder if the two things are connected. Like his last name and the job that his family used to do back in the day. I don't know. Who knows? I guess there's no way of knowing for sure. Okay, my system is back up. Hopefully this works. Back to what I was saying. This should give you an idea of who the guy is, the things that he believes. It's disturbing stuff, honestly. Listen to this. Oh.
We must take authority. God told us, said, go out there and be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it.
Okay, not anything overtly wrong so far, right?
And have dominion over everything.
Okay, now it's getting a little weird.
Fill the earth, subdue it, to take authority. And friends, the reason the country is struggling, the reason you've got $32 trillion in debt and
is because Donald Trump and the other Republicans ran it up. They're responsible for 80% of the national debt, FYI. I mean, Republican presidents responsible for 80% of the national debt, largely due to tax cuts, wars, things like that. But okay, go on.
No holds barred. The reason we come to brinksmanship over and over again on the national debt is because the Christians in America have failed to take authority, and now is the time to choose. Now is the time to stand. Now is the time to plan. Now is the time to fight. Now is the time to work together.
Okay, it's kind of like, I have no problem with working together, whatever, okay? But everything else in there was kind of weird, right? It's getting a little weird so far. Plan, subdue, take dominion over things.
To save the country. Look, do you think that America is going to be free with a bunch of drag queens running this place?
What, you mean people exercising their God-given freedom, as you would put it? I don't really care if America flourishes or not if you are bringing an end to people's freedoms. If you're refusing to let people do what they want to do with their own lives, you know, I have a little bit of a problem with that. I don't want to live. What is the saying? Live free or die? What happened to that sentiment? You know, they care about all that when it comes to owning a gun. You can pry it from my cold dead hand, Second Amendment over all else, blah, 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 right? But they are willing to abridge freedom of speech. They're willing to trample all over it for what? Some perceived danger from people, just doing performances. Drag queen story hour. They're people doing performances. They're willing to trample on people's First Amendment rights. But when we try to regulate their Second Amendment rights, they absolutely lose their minds. How many kids are they okay with dying in the name of the Second Amendment? How many kids are dying, or hell, honestly, even being brainwashed, as they would put it, from people exercising their First Amendment right with the Drag Queen Story Hour? There is an absolutely gross hypocrisy happening right now. Absurd hypocrisy. And this guy doesn't seem to get it. This isn't even the worst part. We haven't even gotten into the worst part of the video. Listen to this.
In this place? No. Do you think America can remain free and strong with a bunch of Antifa nuts running around destroying property?
That's not happening. That's completely made up. Antifa is not running around destroying property. It's not an organized group. It's an ideology. It's an idea.
No. And if you're tired of that stuff, then it's time to make a change. This is a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people. It was created for you to be in charge. A nation of the people.
You as a Christian.
By the people and for the people. So when we have politicians and elected officials that are corrupt, they need to be taken out. Send them to jail.
Holy shit, dude. I know that he hedged by saying send them to jail. He kind of somewhat corrected himself, but that wasn't even a correction, for one thing. And for another thing, that's the nature of propaganda. That's how propaganda is done. They hedge. They give themselves a plausible out. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but not too long ago, there was a CPAC event with a guy named, what's his name? Michael Knowles, maybe? Something like that. And at this CPAC event, Michael Knowles said he wants to eliminate transgenderism, right? And it's pretty obvious what he meant when he said that, right? He's calling for a genocide. That's plain as day. But when called on that, when people pointed out that that's what he wants to do and, broadcast that all over the place, he said, oh, no, I'm not calling for, genocide. I'm saying take out transgenderism, not transgenders, but transgenderism. It's a distinction without meaning, ultimately. But he added that little hedge in there so that he had the ability to back out if he needed to. That's how propaganda works. Set it up in such a way that you are immune to criticism, or you have an out for yourself if you need it. That's what we're listening to right now. He says, take them out. Put them in jail. We know what he meant, Jason Rapert. We know exactly what he's trying to communicate here.
And elected officials that are corrupt, they need to be taken out. Send them to jail. Send them to prison, just like I've seen some people do even while I was serving in the Arkansas legislature. When you see people like Joe Biden taking advantage of position and enriching his family like he has done.
He hasn't done that. That's completely made up. This dude lives in a fantasy.
It's time to take them out. Take them out.
See what he's doing here? He hedged at the beginning of this by saying, put them in jail afterward. That is not what he meant when he said it. He just added that little addendum to the end just in case he needed it, just in case he got criticized. But his audience knows exactly what he's talking about. Olivia May Julius, thank you so much for the super chat. I got a question for you. I had a JW boss when I changed my name from male name to female name. He refused to change my name on my pay stubs. Is that something JWs will do? Oh, yeah, absolutely. He would claim it's against his religious, blah, 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 you know how they do. If you actually get your birth certificate changed, though, he'll have no choice. I mean, you'll have the force of law behind you. Now, if you wanted to change your name on your pay stubs to another male name, like, I go by Jeff now instead of Tom or something, he'd be totally down, I'm sure. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Change your name. Who cares? Everybody loves changing their name. I went by a nickname in high school for 3 years. They don't care about it unless it directly contradicts what their emotional beliefs, or I'm sorry, their religious beliefs, aka their emotions. Just keep fighting it, Do everything you can to fight this. Go all the way up if you have to. That's my take on it. But ultimately, it's your call, and you got to do what's right for you. Coral Reef, welcome. I remembered you mentioned you play the guitar. I played the drums, play the piano, dabbled in guitar, but the instrument I play now is your mom. Oh, God, I was taken for a ride on that one. Oh, my God, just like your mom. That was rough. Ouch. Okay. Thanks for the super chat. Let's keep listening here.
Remove them. Move them on.
Remove them, move them on. He's trying to give a list of things that you could do to get rid of them. You could put them in jail. You could remove them, move them on, get rid of them. Those are the things that he just listed, seriously. Get rid of them, remove them, move them on, send them to jail. Does it get more obvious in this? Like, could he not be a little more veiled in the things that he says? Absolutely insane, dude. So, needless to say, the guy is a Christian nationalist to the core and an extremist. So, I wanted to listen to this thing that he went on. Oh, before we listen to this thing, though, I did want to mention one more thing. I want you to check out my website. Go to owenmorgan.com. That's my website. I have a full backlog of every video I have ever released since the very beginning of time. Even my first video is on here, I think. These are the tags along the left side. You can click on them. Jehovah's Witnesses will take you to that content. Caleb and Sophia takes you to that. Televangelist takes you to that. There are, these tags alongside useful. The little blue link below each video tells you which channel it's from. Telltale Unfiltered, Telltale Reads, so on and so forth. You've got it organized by week, February 19th to 25th, 2023. It lists all of those. It's super convenient. Also, when you go there, you can subscribe to my email list. I send you links to my content, some of which is uncensored, unedited, and ad-free. In some cases, it just kind of depends on the channel and stuff. It's really complicated to do that, actually. So anyway, yeah, check out my website. You can go to my clips library, too, on the top, the little top thing there. I got every clip ever here that I have ever talked about. I'm working on setting up a system exactly like this one right now that displays all of my clips with thumbnails and everything. It's really, really complicated, but I'm working on it. Maybe I can get that together. You want to send me an email or anything, then just hit the contact me button in the top right here, and then you can send me a message. You can also look at my release schedule. I have it organized by the schedule by day, and then schedule by channel. So anyway, yeah, check all that out. It's really cool, and it took me so much time and effort you don't even know. The first 2 lines here of videos are my Telltale, my main channel videos. They're always featured up there. Anyway, yeah, I would appreciate it if you guys checked my website out. So let me give you a little intro. Now that we know who Jason Rapert is and some of the ideas, that he has, some of the destructive stuff he has to say, I wanted to listen to this, what would you call it, this interview that he did on this TV show called Flashpoint. It's owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland, and it's on the Victory Network, and it's absolutely unhinged from reality, dude. This whole thing is insane. So yeah, let's listen to Rapert's interview on this TV show. See what they had to say for themselves.
All right, let me introduce our panel tonight. Tony Suarez, Luke Ball, Jason Rapert, and Michele Bachman. Welcome, everybody, to the program.
Dude, I can't get over that name. That is a wicked name, right?
I want to start right off the top with you, Senator Rapert, because, you know, people live their whole life hoping one day that if they do things right and they're successful, they'll make it to the cover of the Rolling Stone. And here you are. Look at this, your Christian nationalist machine turning hate into law. I had no idea you were doing all that.
Oh, apparently he was on the cover of the Rolling Stone. Yeah, he's about to make a reference to the song Cover of the Rolling Stone by Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. It's a band from like the 70s or something. My dad was super into that band. Of course, my dad died like last year, I think, and I made a video about it at the time. Well, anyways, I grew up listening to that band a lot. In fact, my sister was even named after one of their songs, Carry Me, Carry. You know, Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show's got an interesting place in my heart. So anyway, keep listening here. You should listen to the song if you haven't. It's actually got a pretty good beat.
Well, Gene, first of all, thank you for having me on the program. And, you know, it's the first thing that I heard when I saw that was on the cover of the Rolling Stone, go get 5 copies for my mother, you know.
Yeah, that's a quote from the song.
Oh, the old song that
that's
you
right.
have. But you know, what we all know, and everybody that's on your program tonight.
It's kind of a niche reference. I'm a little surprised that, you know, they both recognized it. Like, that's kind of interesting to me.
These folks that are writing this, they're just trying to sensationalize.
That's correct.
And I can just imagine.
Trying to sensationalize? They're trying to be sensational about the fact that this guy's a Christian nationalist? Dude, we just listened to this guy basically call for Joe Biden to be taken out. That's what he said, right? He's a Christian nationalist. He says he deserves to have dominion over the earth and stuff. Like, does it get more Christian nationalist than that? Why isn't he just embracing it? Just admit to your beliefs.
In the liberal coffee table that they sat around and they said, what can we do to begin to demonize Christians in the country? And I believe they absolutely decided to use the term white supremacist, white nationalist, and try to figure a way to do this. And so this is the hit that they've put out against you. They've put out against every.
Oh, he wants to tie you into this attack.
Single conservative Christian in the country. And I want people to know, don't run from the fact that 93% of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were clearly Christians.
That's not true. That's a common claim from a guy named David Barton. It's just a flat-out bald-faced lie. Now, many were Christians. Many believed in religious ideas, but not all of them were Christian or believed in this stuff. And in fact, David Barton claims that they were pastors, all but like one were pastors or had seminary degrees or whatever. Simply not true. It's just a bald-faced lie. Like, they don't seem to be, you know, above just lying about things. And rewriting U.S. history, doing everything they can to twist it around, turn it into something that it's simply not, never was.
It was articulated that they were Christians and they were patriotic.
Christians and patriotic. They were not all Christians. They were deists, largely, because there wasn't really an understanding or alternative at the time. There were very few atheists around.
They loved America. They were nationalists. And so I don't run from the term at all, Gene, and it doesn't bother me. And you know what? I'm just glad that they know that we're serious about saving the nation.
Right.
Wow. Okay. I thought he was going to be upset with the claim that he was a Christian nationalist. I guess he embraces it. He's glad. That's even more disturbing. Holy shit, dude. Think about how low you have to be to embrace a term like Christian nationalist.
At the National Association of Christian Lawmakers.
That's right. In fact, you need to go to that website, see what's going on there, National Christian Association of Lawmakers. Let me bring in Luke Ball. Luke is founder of the Right Life Media, served as congressional staffer for years.
Wait, what was that? Let me just step back. Listen to that one more time, because I want to get a bead on what the name of that organization was.
That's right. In fact, you need to go to that website, see what's going on there. National Christian Association of Lawmakers.
National Christian Association of Lawmakers. Holy shit, that is a long title. Well, I'm not going to go there, but there are a lot more Christian lawmakers than one might think. For example, there are think tanks out there. Family Research Council, Liberty Council, Federalist Society, and a bunch of others out there. Federalist Society is its own thing, but those two at the very least are nonprofit organizations. They're basically just think tanks that exist solely to write legislation for congressmen and give it to them that pushes forward a Christian nationalist plan, basically. It's like anything they can do, any legislation that they want as Christian extremists, they write the bill up as lawyers because it's complicated to write legislation like that. They write the bill and they give it to, the Republican congressmen and say, if you push this bill through or introduce it or whatever else, God will love you even more. That's basically the only thing that they exist to do. And it's disturbing on so many levels. That is church and state blending inextricably. Perfect example of it. Really disturbing stuff. And I'm assuming that that's what he was talking about when he mentioned that nonprofit. I would bet anything that that's what that nonprofit does. They write legislation for congressmen as Christian extremists. Just nuts, dude.
Let me bring in Luke Ball. Luke is founder of the Right Life Media, served as congressional staffer for years, worked with Matt Gaetz, Congressman Pat Fallon, and Congressman Madison Cawthorn. Okay, Luke, you've been there. Before I go to Michele Bachman, I want to...
Dude, that little shout out for Madison Cawthorn. Madison Cawthorn is in bad shape right now, guys. I mean, he is straight up hacked. I don't know if you knew this, but there are actually a lot of really strict laws about how you handle your campaign finances. For example, you can take donations from independent donators for a general election and a primary, but you cannot mix the two funds. And if you lose the primary, you're legally obligated to refund the general election donations. Well, bad news for Madison Cawthorn. He didn't. He lost his primary and did not refund any of the donations. He's bankrupt. He doesn't have a penny to his name. He used it in the primaries because he was apparently so sure he was going to win them or something. I don't know. Madison Cawthorn lost his election and is now in really bad shape. This guy is so screwed. Holy shit. I love it to death. Deserves every minute of this. So, anyway, yeah, let's keep listening. I just wanted to mention Madison Cawthorn.
What is a Christian nationalist? What is this term they've made up?
This isn't a term that was made up. Before he mentions it, I'll tell you guys, a Christian nationalist is a person who has a vested interest in turning the United States into a Christian state, or more generally, they just want a state that is run by Christianity exclusively, where pastors and religious leaders call shots and create laws and all that other stuff.
Sounds
well, let me
pretty good
first
to me.
of all say that in Matthew, it says in Scripture, blessed are you when people speak all manner of evil against you. When they revile you, they're going to despise you, for great is your reward in heaven. And let me tell you something. If the mainstream media is not going after you, if you are an elected member of Congress or state senator or state representative, you are doing something wrong. They should be coming after you with a vengeance. Why? Because you are going directly against their their agenda. The gospel and the Bible is a double-edged sword, and it is not meant just to go around and just kind of pansy a little bit. It is meant to cut both ways. It is a drink of cold water on somebody who is fast asleep. And so I'm excited when I see members like Jason who are going out there and bringing this attention to themselves, because when people really examine the heart of the issue, they're not going after him. They're going after the gospel of Jesus Christ. They're going after revealed law and natural law. They have a vengeance against the gospel like you've never seen before. And
okay, that's interesting. So he seems to be using the gospel as like the basis for the idea that we should live in a Christian nationalist state, right? He thinks that Jesus wanted us to live in a state that was controlled by Christians. That's simply not true. Well, okay, let me rephrase. The Bible specifically says you should live in the world but be no part of it. It says you should respect the authorities, respect the government, because God put them there, just like he put you where you are, basically. The Bible does not say that at all. Now, the Old Testament had its own thing going on and, has to be taken in its own context, but whatever the Old Testament says is completely irrelevant at this point, because we're talking Christianity, not Judaism. And Christianity was built off of the New Testament, not the Old Testament, so just completely made up, all of it.
let me tell you, the devil is alive and well. He is walking around like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour, and he is going to come after men and women of faith who stand up and say, this is what I believe. I do believe our nation was founded, as our founding fathers said, for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. So keep up the amazing work. And if you are running for Congress, if you are running for an elected position in your state, or you are somebody who is elected, boy, you better be standing up, because if the devil is not coming after you with something, it means he really doesn't have anything to worry about.
Okay, that's interesting. If the devil isn't coming after you over something, he has nothing to worry about. So the idea is, if you aren't getting criticized by, anybody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, then it means that you're doing something wrong. You have to do something that's worthy of criticism. And if you're not doing something worthy of criticism, you're failing. That's just insane, dude. Absolutely insane.
That's true. Well said. Let me go to Congresswoman Michele Bachman. Michele, when we see this, now you're there.
My God, dude, she is even crazier than the rest, just about. She is nuts. I think she was the congressman of, Minnesota or something? I don't remember now.
You're dean at the Robertson School of Government there in Regent. I want to understand, have you ever heard this term before, Christian nationalist?
Yes, we have. As a matter of fact, the president of the university...
Oh, God, you know what? I'm going to take a guess. Let's guess on this. Is she going to pretend to be persecuted? I'd bet anything she is.
Walked into my office with a book on Christian nationalism. It was written by Whitehead and Perry, and it was specifically done to let people know that there is a menacing threat across America, and it's Christians who love America.
Dude, how did I guess? I knew it was going to be a persecution complex thing. I knew this was going to revolve somehow around her being attacked like the martyr that she is. So mistreated. Majority group in the United States controls government by and large, at the very least, controls an entire political party, one of the major political parties in the U.S., and she's the persecuted one, absolutely.
And they want to advocate for legislation that follows the Bible. And then people's hair is supposed to stand up on end when they're told that. But this is actually a thing. This term was coined by those on the progressive left for the specific purpose of making toxic anyone who takes the Bible seriously at its word and anyone who loves the country. And then they want to apply the Bible to the way that America lives.
If you love the country, then you're a Christian nationalist, fellas.
So This is intended to scare pastors primarily, to keep them from preaching in the pulpit.
What? How would that scare pastors to prevent them from preaching? What's she even talking about right now? This is complete nonsense.
About issues that impact us, but it's also meant to scare the people in the pews to think you shouldn't get involved in politics or you'll be one of those toxic Christian nationalists too. So we've held a couple of conferences on this topic at Regent University to warn pastors, don't take the bait, don't see this as a negative thing, and also to warn those who vote, who listen to Flashpoint, who want to do something about the...
You know, this TV show is valuable, in my opinion, if for no other reason than because it gives us an opportunity to examine the things that these people are most worried about, or the things that their market research has told them, right? This is run by Kenneth Copeland. He owns this network and this TV show and appears on it regularly. And guess who has the kind of money that would be required to throw into market research to determine, you know, what plays best to the right and what things hurt the right the most? Kenneth Copeland puts that kind of money into that research. Dude's almost a billionaire. I think he's worth $750 million or something like that right now. This dude, Kenneth Copeland, has that kind of money, and he does do that market research frequently. So the issues that you hear them talking about on here, the things that you hear them bringing up, the propaganda that they frame up for you, listening to it in its own right is valuable. Not just to debunk, but to understand what they think is harmful to them and what's useful. Yours truly, number one pony. Since these Christians believe the founders were Christian, they think they have more rights than others or even above the law. Yeah, absolutely. That's like the end conclusion for them. The conclusion is they were Christian and they created this as a Christian nation, and that means I have a right to seize control of this country and force atheists out, no matter what. Not just atheists, anybody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport. Those are the types of people we're dealing with. People who fucking hate minority groups and will do anything they can to make them weaker, to wreck their lives, and to make themselves more powerful. Disturbing stuff, dude. Disturbing stuff. Anyway, thanks for the super chat on that.
Country that they're living in. So we're telling them this is a campaign by the left to silence you and shut you up. And
apparently, I mean, I don't even know what that. How is calling you a Christian nationalist silencing you? That's total nonsense. But apparently, being called a Christian nationalist seems to bother them a lot. Like, they don't seem to be a big fan of that. It's kind of interesting, right? Useful market research, man, I'm telling you.
Don't let them be victorious.
That's right. And,
No, it's not right. It was nonsense.
Mike Lindell, he works to get in the news cycle. He's probably jealous right now of you, Jason, because you're on the Rolling Stone. Let me bring in Tony Suarez. Tony, I love what our guests are saying.
Dude, they love Mike Lindell on this TV show. They're the biggest fans ever. It's like embarrassing.
Because we're saying we need to grow a backbone and stand up. And, I'm like, yes, I'm a Christian. And yes, what she said, I believe in the United States of America. I stand for that based on biblical values. Guilty as charged. What's your point? But in light of that, Tony, we've got a lot of Christians that they don't know how to handle this kind of opposition. What do they need to do?
What, when somebody points out correctly that they're Christian nationalists? Maybe stop being a Christian nationalist, I'd recommend.
Well, let's be reminded that Jesus said we would be hated for his name's sake. So it's not that they hate you, they hate the truth of the word of God. They hate what Jesus Christ stands for. But this is spiritual warfare. We've been taught, we've been prepped, but we need to remember that spiritual warfare is fought in the heaven and the earth. We fight these spiritual battles in faith and prayer, but on the earth, you have to fight it with your vote and your voice. Your voice is so important right now. Pastor Sam Rodriguez,
Your mom's important.
as my pastor, has grilled it into me. Silence is not an
Did he say grilled it into me? I think he means drilled it in with a D, but okay. He grilled it in. Go on.
option. You are what you tolerate. We cannot tolerate the left, not just taking over social media and the headlines, but now our children's school. We have to make sure that we
Like, none of this is happening. The left, quote unquote, is not taking over schools or social media. What? Do you know how many right-wingers are on YouTube right now? A ton. Tim Pool is far right. Steven Crowder is far right. These people are on YouTube and making tons of money at it. The Daily Wire is far right. They are consistently at the top of search rankings for like news or, you know, independent media or whatever, at least on Facebook. The top news and commentary social media accounts are very commonly far right nutcases. What's he even talking about here? They have to believe that they're martyrs. They have to. By the by, quick reminder, check out my website. I would appreciate it very much. Just go owenmorgan.com. All you got to do. I've got a backlog of everything on here. Every video I've ever released, and it's all accurately like listed with dates and everything. I was working on transferring the view counts over. I haven't really gotten it. About 20 of the videos randomly had the correct view count on them. Like this one right here, 22,000 views. And then the rest are like, oh, here, this one too, 7,000 views. But the rest have 0. So I don't know. It's a challenge, something I've been working on. But it's a pretty cool website. I got a bunch of cool stuff on here. So check it out, please. You get early access to my videos. Like some of this stuff won't release for weeks, maybe months. A ton of stuff up here. So give that a look. Anyway, let's keep listening. Just want to give you that little mid-roll there.
are doubly as loud as they are in their agenda and in their message.
Well, and I love that, Tony, because, you know, as people of faith, we need to understand we are not loved by everybody yet.
No.
And so in light of that, we do have it, because being a Christian, let's be real. You know, let me go to you, Senator Rapert.
Look, being a Christian isn't the problem. There are a billion Christians in my like DMs and messages and stuff. Being a Christian has never been the issue. Being a nutcase is the issue, which they're embracing. They said it earlier. They are proud to be Christian nationalists. Yes, you know, I do want to control the United States as, you know, a pastor. I do want to write legislation and force Congress to pass it, you know, that cancels the First Amendment and gives me every other thing that I want. Like, yeah, they want that stuff. They're open about that.
On this, you know, we've had it pretty easy in America to call ourselves believers for the last few decades. It really hasn't been that difficult to, in fact, that's kind of what the left liked. Like, you guys just go operate over there in the corner, just stay out of politics, because, you know, that's somewhere in the Declaration of Independence, separation of church and state. So y'all.
No, that's not in the Declaration of Independence. That's in the Constitution. First sentence of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Declaration of Independence doesn't, you know, it's not even a founding document. It was just a letter we sent to King George.
Y'all stay over there. And for the most part, the church bought that lie.
Oh, it's a lie. It's a lie. Separation of church and state is a lie, apparently. Okay. First sentence in the First Amendment, and it's a lie.
Well, Gene, I'm just sitting here, and I thank God for every single person in their comments, because I'm in agreement with them. And I'm just thinking back to when I yielded to the call to run for office, and this is my challenge to every single person listening to me. We need Christians that are running for every single elected office in this country, at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level.
Okay, think about this. Like I said before, they have market research like you wouldn't believe. They spend millions on it, right? Not only should we be looking to the propaganda methods that they use and the things that they seem to focus on the most, like the term Christian nationalist, but we should be looking to their strategies. As long as their strategies are ethical, which this one is, encouraging people to run for office, that's ethical, we should copy it. We should do it. Problem is they employ unethical strategies also, but that's a story for a different day. If you don't get out there and run for office and or vote, they will. Every school board meeting has some right-wing nutcases at it screaming at the top of their lungs about the transgenders trying to take over. Blah, 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 blah. If you aren't there to counter that, then nobody will be. You have to be there too. You have to.
I was like a lot of people that are watching this program tonight, Gene. I was running my business, raising my family back in 2010, was leading teams to Ghana, West Africa, and I felt God very clearly say to me, why are you not sacrificing to serve at home at the same level that you've been sacrificing to serve overseas now that your country is in trouble? I resigned from the financial services firm I was working for. I walked away from that with the shoes on my feet, the shirt on my back, opened a new business, ran for office, and
Okay, so he's kind of making it out as though he was poor, like had nothing to his name, right? He had nothing but the shoes on his feet and the shirt on his back. Is that even true? This guy's like deeply independently wealthy, right? He's working for a financial firm. He's a lawyer, right? He was not poor. He just wants to give you that impression so that he can connect with, the lower middle class even stronger.
I was the first Republican since the Civil War to win my district in Arkansas, 138 years of Democrat control.
That's right.
And then in 2019, Gene, and you're serving on our National Board of Advisors, thank you. We formed the first National Association of Christian Lawmakers in the history of the country. I couldn't believe that was the case.
Dude, so you're trying to tell me that Gene Bailey and Jason Rapert are the ones that, control that nonprofit? I mean, I assume it's a nonprofit. That organization is what I should be calling it. That's disturbing on entirely new levels. I had no idea. This is what I'm talking about, man. People like Gene Bailey and Jason Rapert, they will be there to do this stuff if you're not. And they're doing everything they can to create a theocracy. Everything they can. We don't technically live in one right now because we still have democracy. And the elected officials don't 100% get their cues from religious figures. In a theocracy, or even a pseudo-theocracy, they would either control the government entirely, the religious figures would, or they would, control the legislation by giving it to the legislators. That happens a little bit, but, they're doing everything they can to make it happen a lot. They're trying to turn this into a Christian nationalist state. They're open about it now. And if you don't believe me about them being open, I mean, some of this is a little bit veiled, right? I feel like this is pretty open, but if you're not convinced yet, let me just convince you. This is from mid-January 2023. They're talking about a conference they're holding.
A lot of stuff happening. You say, well, what kind of training is that? What kind of stuff? These flash talks, I'm calling them flash talks, okay? What you're going to learn from this flash, how to go back to your house, wherever you live, and learn how to flip your school board so that your kids, if they're going to public school, you can start taking over the school board. And you go, well, that sounds like we're trying to take over the world. Yes, we are. I fully admit that. That's exactly what we're doing.
He's pretty open about it. I mean, it doesn't get more on the nose than that, right?
Tim,
it's obvious what they're setting out to do now, it seems to me. They are setting out to control the United States, to be generous. Honestly, they're obviously trying to take control of the world. That is some disturbing shit right there.
The first National Association of Christian Lawmakers in the history of the country. I couldn't believe that was the case. Tim Barton of Wall Builders is on our national board as well.
Dude, that guy is a complete nutcase. Complete nutcase. And he lies about stuff constantly. He believes that you should have access to nuclear weapons. And the reason that he thinks things would turn out just fine is because if we could get to the point where we could legalize nuclear weapons for everybody, then it means that he has successfully taken control of the U.S. government and forced everybody to be a Christian. And, you know, if you're a Christian, then it means that you're not a nutcase and you would use it responsibly. Only non-Christians use things irresponsibly. Only non-Christians are ever irresponsible. Just, my God, dude, these people. That's Tim. No, wait. That is Tim Barton that I'm thinking of, right? No, I'm thinking David Barton. I'm sorry. I was thinking David Barton, not Tim Barton. Tim Barton is David Barton's son. That's the guy's son. I don't have any clips from Tim Barton. I thought I did.
So we're the northern.
No, I guess I don't. This is David Barton. If you're unfamiliar with him, this is what he looks like.
The greatest people killer of all has been government. Nothing has killed more people than government has killed. And so when you look at that, the Founding Fathers believed that the people should be able to have enough arms in place to be able to remind their government, you don't want to mess with us. You don't want to come after us.
Okay, I don't think that's true, but even if it were, that's impossible now. Now that nuclear weapons exist, it's not possible. And it shouldn't be possible anyway.
Well, if all we've got is pea shooters and they've got 50 caliber machine guns, that's not the point of the First Amendment, because they point out consistently, Patrick Henry and George
I think he meant the Second Amendment.
Mason, others, that the greatest threat to your loss of guns will come from government, not from criminals or others.
Yeah, for what it's worth, he lies constantly about the Founding Fathers. He has no idea what he's talking about. Claims to be a constitutional scholar. He has a 4-year degree from a Christian school, Oral Roberts University, and I think it's in finance or something like that. I don't even remember. He's not a constitutional scholar, and it's an insult to constitutional scholars that he claims to be one.
And so they were very adamant that you'd be able to have that, which is why we see in Boston, they didn't care if you have a cannon. You can have a cannon, but please don't shoot it in town or within a mile of town. It's just so loud. I mean, it wasn't the fact of having a cannon. It's a little loud just to be shooting off just for fun. So in the same way, you know, I don't want to see my neighbor stockpile nuclear bombs. Yeah, I don't want to see it, but I don't care if he has one, because he should have the same rights. But you're saying, well, I don't think private citizens should have nuclear weapons. But if you've been trained with responsibility and morality, and
which means if you're a Christian,
concept of when and where you use them. The Founding Fathers are trained extensively in the concept of defensive warfare. You don't start anything. Now, if somebody else starts it, you can take it on, but you don't start it. I don't care if my neighbor has a nuclear weapon as long as he has that defensive concept that he will never use that unless it's being used against him. The greatest people kill.
Just absolutely insane from top to bottom, everything about this dude. And his son is no better. His son, Tim, capitalized off of his dad's absolute nutter buttery. So, and now you know who David and Tim Barton are. Let's keep listening. Apparently they're on the board of this organization too.
And he said that was the case. I don't know why it had not been done. Now we've got members and supporters in all 50 states. Now we've got 32 elected officials serving as state chairs, and I'm happy to announce tonight that we now have a California state chair. Senator Shannon Grove of California has just joined, and don't you know the devil loves I've got somebody in California now, because we're going to go into that legislature, we're going to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we're going to find those Christians that have been afraid to speak up. It's like Governor Mike Huckabee said, Gene, one of the greatest things about the organization is we want those Christian lawmakers to know they are not alone. And here's why they wrote the article.
Look, he keeps conflating himself with general Christians or Christianity. I just want to make the point that this is not Christianity. This is Christian extremism. This is no better than, you know, any of the other extremists out there that we deal with in the world. They're complete nutcases and will do anything they can to take control of a movement and, you know, move it around like a puppet master. It's just disturbing shit.
Here's the bottom line. Here's the behind the scenes. They wrote this article because they've been suing me for 6 years about the 10 Commandments on the Arkansas State Capitol grounds, and it's going to continue to stand. And by the way, you can go see that monument they tore down very soon at David Barton's American Journey experience.
There's a mention of David Barton. I guess, yeah. So David Barton is the dad, Tim Barton is the son, and he's the one on their board.
In Glenn Beck's Mercury One studio, where I just loaded it up and sent it down there so it can be told the story. They hate us because the bills we pass. They hate us because the heartbeat bill.
Hey, yes, exactly. I don't hate anybody for anything ever. I'm disgusted by the bills that he passes, yes. I'm surprised that he's pointing out that it's the bills that he's passing that upset people, because usually he tries to go the whole persecution route and pretend that they hate us because, we're Christian or whatever. He wants to make people feel like they're victims when that's simply not the case.
Bill. They hate us because in Arkansas, we banned all abortion except to save the life of the mother. And here's what they really hate.
Wow, did they put in an exception for that? Most of the time they don't.
And Congresswoman Bachman knows this. We are the only faith-based working para-legislative organization in the country. Inside the Beltway, they know about
para-legislative? What does that mean exactly?
ALEC. They know about NCSL. They know about CSG. These are these para-legislative organizations where all of the major issues are discussed, and they propose model laws and statutes. Well, at the NACL, we're the only organization with 7 working committees like those other groups where we openly discuss them from a biblical worldview, and they are passed by legislators from all over the country. And right now, even in Arkansas, Representative Mary Bentley is running a bill that was passed at our meeting. It's a national school board policy that says kids are going to use bathrooms based upon their sex at birth on their birth certificate.
And how are you going to enforce that? You're going to have them drop trow every time they have to use the bathroom? Like, the invasion of privacy is absolutely fucking absurd for these people. And they don't seem to see the problem with any of this. Again, just the complete disregard for people's rights, First Amendment rights, and just general privacy rights. They don't care about those. But there are literally thousands, tens of thousands of people dying every year from gun deaths. 20,000 a year, I think, or last year it was maybe 20,000. I don't remember. And they simply cannot put up with the possibility that we would offer absolutely any legislation. Can't deal with that fact that legislation is required to dig us out of this with gun deaths. Can't deal with it. They will trample on anybody's rights that they need to stop people from being trans. But when it comes to any other thing, they don't care. People's rights go right out the window. Never cared about the rights. It's obvious now, it should be obvious to everybody, that it was never about gun rights. It was never about free speech rights. They never cared about that stuff. They have no principle. People like Jason Rapert, specifically. Congressmen, Republican congressmen, like Jason Rapert, had no principle. Never did.
They hate us for the heartbeat bill. They hate us for standing up for the national motto. But here's the bottom line for me. I can tell you that.
He keeps mentioning the heartbeat bill. I believe that that's because he was the one that invented the bill, or he worked with somebody to write the heartbeat bill originally, the very first one, I think. I don't even remember now.
We are committed to standing up for righteousness in our nation. It's time we quit embracing Sodom and Gomorrah as a goal to be achieved like the Democrats and start opposing Sodom and Gomorrah and hopefully save this nation.
I can see he's never read the Bible, because in Ezekiel it clearly says that Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because of their ill treatment of the poor, not because of their gay activities, like he seems to think here. Now, who treats poor people worse? Democrats or Republicans. Just knock that around the noggin.
Amen, and it will be saved. Thank you, Senator Rapert, for what you do. And I want to encourage everybody watching.
Please, bro, change your name.
Go check out what he does. Christian law.
I feel dirty saying his name. I'm like, am I going to get demonetized? It's terrible, man. This guy just, how did he actually get elected with a name like this? It's just the worst.
Lawmakers.com, the website right there on the screen. I know you need to go. Jason, anytime, you're always welcome here.
Let's check it out. ChristianLawmakers.com. Let's pop this puppy up on screen. Save the date. Love the pop-up. I'm paying attention to how this website is kind of constructed right now because I just built my own website, and I can appreciate a lot of the stuff they're doing here. There's Jason Rapert on the far left. I assume this is his wife. I don't know. I don't know who any of these people are. NACL, National Association of Christian Lawmakers, I assume is what that means. The National Association of Christian Lawmakers was formed in 2019, held their first charter meeting August 2020. The association now has members and supporters in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. Anyone supporting Christians serving in elected office is welcome to become a member. This is another example of the line between church and state being blurred even further. Disturbing stuff. There's Mike Huckabee. He was the Arkansas governor, I think, for a while. Absolutely nuts, dude. Nuts. Nutty stuff, man. Oh, I like this little contact us thing. Maybe I should put a little contact form at the bottom of my page instead of what I've currently got. That's really nice. Donate, become a member. I like this. Wow. I'm going to have to incorporate some of these ideas into my own website. Very white, though. Very bright. I prefer dark themes, personally, on mine. Yep. Nutty as expected. Now we know. And knowing is half the battle, as my friend G.I. Joe says.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless you. All right, so.
Wow. That was insane. That was an insane segment. I don't even know what to do with that, dude. That's scary stuff. Deeply scary stuff to know that there are people out there like Jason Rapert who were in positions of authority pushing bills into law like he says that he did. Openly avowed Christian nationalist. Proud of that fact. That's nuts. At least the dude's out of office now. He lost his election. That's good. But still, he created a whole foundation or organization or whatever dedicated to getting other Christian nationalists into office. Like, holy Christ on a cracker, dude. That's crazy.